For more information about our network and to check our additional show hosts and topics of interest, please visit voiceamericahealth.com.
Like so many others, who you are is largely a result of your past. We have so many positive and not so positive experiences that we start to doubt ourselves and our place in this world. Let the healing process start now. Welcome to Shift Happens with Karin Weary and co-host Ida Serena Lee. When you start to focus on healing from the inside out, you'll learn so much more about your own health, your well-being, and your state of mind. Once you've started on that, the rest gets a little bit easier every day. Now, here is your host, Karin Weary and Ida Serena Lee.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Shift Happens. I am your host, Karin Weary, and when I'm not on here on Shift Happens, I make shift happen in your life because outside of here, I am a licensed marriage and family therapist and breakthrough life coach. What that means is that I have put together a whole different modality that makes shift happen literally in usually 1 to 6 sessions. And it is powerful. And once we clear that out, then you are done with it forever. And that totally just helps clarify and clear out all kinds of garbage so that you're not dragging it around, causing overthinking and anxiety and depression and all those different kinds of things. Because in reality, where most people, they're just really emotionally constipated. A lot of people, they're uh, very attached to that talking about how I am anxious and I am depressed and this, that, and the other. And words are very powerful. So when we make those kinds of statements that I am, it's like you're owning it and making it part of your personality and who you are. And really, why do you want to hang on to that? That's not very pleasant. So we can get rid of that for you. So how you can find me is that I am on Facebook, I'm on LinkedIn. You can find me on my website at www.insightscounselingcenter.com. And that's where you find me. So without further ado, what today's topic is: create your own reality. 7 reasons why it's not just an escape. And here's the thing is that I have over the years created my own beautiful little bliss bubble. And I love my little bliss bubble. It just feels so warm and fuzzy and cozy in here. and, and this is what I do in order to uh, fill myself up to keep me in a great place mentally and emotionally. And when I'm in a good place mentally and emotionally, I'm also physically in a good place. And of course, also enhanced by the fact that, I take generally good care of my body. I generally eat healthy foods. I exercise. I do those kinds of things. I make sure that I drink the majority of the water I'm supposed to drink every day, and all those good things all helps also. However, I'm also very picky about what I allow into my beautiful bliss bubble sphere because we truly do create our own reality. Now, a lot of people talk about, well, I'm a realist. You know, I gotta check in and see what's going on so that I know what's going on in the world. I don't want to be someone who just sticks my head in the sand and not knowing what is going on in the world. And so then the next question is, even though I unplugged from mainstream media, good 7, 8 years ago, it's not as though I don't know what's going on in the world. It's just that I don't have to be inundated with it, with the same images going on, every 5 seconds whenever there's the news going on, or, I don't need to know every little thing that's going on all over the world at all levels, locally, statewide, federally in the country and globally at all times, because we were not designed to absorb all of that. Before we had all this mass media and internet and all that, guess what? Our world was much smaller. We didn't know what all was going on immediately, instantly, um, right away. And guess what? Our mental health was much better, at least with regards to that. Because the thing is that what really is the point of knowing all of that going on all the time, when there's really nothing that you can do about it? There are certain things you can do about certain parts, um, but mostly the the place where you can do the most is in your own sphere of what's the word I'm looking for? That's the sphere that you have of influence, your sphere of influence. That's the word I was looking for. And that is, the people that you're in contact with, your own space that you're in, your family, your friends, your coworkers, the people you work with, customers, clients, patients, whatever kind of work it is that you do. That is your sphere of influence. If you are an author, or if you have, an outlet or a platform, social media or whatever, those are your spheres of influence. And that's the thing, is that when we can zoom in a little bit closer to our sphere of influence, then we're not overloading ourselves with all kinds of hurts and stressors and all the stuff that's going on that is going on anyway. And it doesn't mean that you don't know what's going on, or that you don't care about other people. I care deeply about other people. Why else would I be doing the kind of work that I do? I do it because I love people, and I know that there's a lot of hurt and pain and distress out in the world. And I know how that affects not just you as the individual, but it affects everybody that you're in touch with. It affects it has a whole ripple effect that just expand. When you throw a rock out into the water, that ripple effect that expands widely and might even go to the other side of the lake or wherever, I don't know, but it will go far for sure, even if you just throw a tiny little pebble out there. And so that's what also happens to us when we get totally involved in uh, everything that's going on. Then there's the other part of, you know, whose reality is it? Because, what really is reality? Talk about an existential question there. Um, because the thing is that, if I watch the news, if I've been watching the news here in the last year, I would have thought that the world was a very crazy, scary place to walk out into. But fortunately, I totally tune out of that. And for me, the world is perfectly fine to go out in. And, and somehow or another, I've survived it. And I'm here. No, not sick at all, haven't been sick at all, and so on and so forth. But the thing is that, uh, when we are in that fear state, we know for a fact that being in that fear state, which is based on something other people are telling you is going on in the world, now they scared the crap out of you, and now your immune system has dropped. Whereas on the other hand, where you tune all that stuff out, you use common sense of, how do you interact with the world and stay healthy by eating healthy, exercising, getting fresh air, having loving relationships and those kinds of things. Socializing, we have to socialize, we're social beings. We know over this past year how many people, how much suicides have been on an increase, how much even amongst kids who've been kept out of school, you know suicides, domestic violence, sexual abuse, child abuse, all those things that have skyrocketed, which is insane. It's insane and incredibly sad. And, all of this because of the isolation that people have been, that have been imposed on people. So, uh, so the thing is that, so who is it that gets to say what reality is and what the news is? Because there's always different angles and different perspectives. And the thing is that, so who is it that really controls what's on the news? Who is it that controls, like a lot of podcasts? Well, on independent podcasts, it's individual people who have their experiences and their say and their experiences and their expertise and whatnot. And so many times, you get different kinds of views, very different kinds of views. And I think always it's a good idea to, get information from a lot of different sources. And that way you have more of the opportunity to pay attention and see what resonates with you. What feels right, what makes sense, and rather than putting all of our eggs in one basket and totally going along with whatever certain things say. Because my problem is, for example, with this last year, how come is it that, certain doctors who are saying something different than what mainstream news is, that they're being suppressed, they're being fired, they're being censored, they're being taken off of multiple, social media platforms? What's going on with that? I just question that kind of behavior, when they're talking about, board certified, decades long experience, and very well respected doctors. And this is what's happening, like the frontline doctors, for example. So that's something that just for me, makes me question what is going on, especially in the US of A. Where we supposedly have freedom. Freedom of speech is what's supposed to be in our Constitution, so that we can have enough intelligence to know what information that fits for us. Now, so that's one of the things. And then there's what information is also being suppressed and ridiculed. For example, historically, we have some examples, lots of examples. I actually highly recommend, if you haven't watched the movie Thrive, there's Thrive and then Thrive 2. Those are two movies that talk about a lot of this stuff here that's been going on, a lot of things that have led up to where we are here today, both politically and health wise and whatnot. And I love the fact that their emphasis is on the fact that we, as human beings, as planet Earth, we are designed to thrive. We're not designed to shut down and be weak and disempowered and whatnot. Our bodies are designed to heal itself. Our planet is designed to heal itself, and we just have to do little things in order to allow our body an environment, and our environment a place where it can heal. For example, a couple weeks ago, I had Jim Gale on here of Food Forest Abundance, talking about how we can create abundance and freedom where we just with planting, switching out suburban plants that are just ornamental with plants that are productive and provide food and fruits and all kinds of things. And it's a beautiful thing. We have options. There's so much out there that we can do that is positive and productive. And that's the reality that I choose. And we do have that choice. Um, yeah. So historically, so I was recommending the movie Thrive. I think you should look it up and check it out if you haven't already. It's a really good movie, both of them, 1 and 2. For example, Tesla. Nikola Tesla, back, 100 years ago, however long ago it was incredible. I mean, we could have had free electricity, free energy, if he hadn't been shut down. He had the formula for it. And his financing was pulled when they discovered that, oh gosh, wow, he has discovered something that's going to make sure that we don't make our millions and billions of dollars anymore. So we better shut him down. So, which is really sad. Another one is the Rife, let me see, what was his name? Adam Rife. He invented the Rife machine. It's just named after him, and it had to do with frequency. And one example was that he had a 14 or 16 stage 4 cancer patients that pretty much they were just told, "You're terminal. That's it. You're done. We can't do anything anymore for you." And he used his machine that was providing frequency therapy, which I've talked about here multiple times on different shows. I don't have a Rife machine, but I have another device that provides frequency therapy, which is really quite amazing. And so he took these 14 or 16 patients at end stage and provided them with the frequency therapy that he had designed. And all of those patients, the cancer was eliminated. they they survived. They were cancer free. And so this is incredible. You would think that that would be something like, wow, that's mind blowing. We've got to get this machine everywhere. But what happened? Nope. They went in and destroyed it and ridiculed him. The medical association, they were saying that he's, just some alternative goofmeister and whatnot. So really, when we're looking at these kinds of things, that this is where discernment comes in, and in deciding what kind of reality that you want to live in. Another example is who is writing the history books for our schools? What kind of curriculum is being taught to our kids in schools? I was actually just listening to an interview earlier today where, and I did not know this, where it's been written into anti-bullying, and I'm totally 1,000% all about anti-bullying, having been bullied myself as a kid. So there's nothing about that whatsoever. But where kids in California, at least at the age of 5 in kindergarten, are being taught that, whether they're a boy or girl is up to them. They know that best, and that's really, when you step out and you think a little bit about it, what kind of messages are you giving little tiny kids who, you know, they're just little tiny kids? Can we just wait with that kind of stuff until they're maybe a teenager or older, because that part is not about that's not about bullying. That's questioning themselves. Sowing seeds that makes them question themselves, as opposed to, you know what? It doesn't matter what color your skin is. We're all good. It doesn't matter if you're in a wheelchair or if you are this, that, and the other. That is a whole different story. So sometimes things can be kind of subtle with how the world is presented to our kids, and that's again where it's also really important to stay connected with our kids and to have conversations with them, open conversations. What do you think about that? I always like to ask that question rather than this is what's going on, because I like to see what kids think themselves and go from there, because they may have a whole different perspective. And when we take a look at what your kid's perspective is, then you know where they're coming from and what angle that they're seeing life from. So we are going to roll into a couple of messages, and when we come back, we'll talk more about creating your own reality. Is that just all about just escaping, or what can it really have to do with? Because there are actual true health benefits to creating your own reality, as opposed to being what a lot of people call realist. And we'll get into that right after these messages.
All clear.
Thank you. So, how's your week going so far, Aaron?
Oh, not bad. Can't complain. Nice and easy today. A little busy yesterday.
Yeah, that's
Keeping out
good.
of trouble.
You
How about
staying out
yours?
of trouble? Oh, that's good. We don't need you to be in trouble because we need you here.
Trying, anyways. How's your week?
So far, so good. Yeah, just
Good.
rolling along.
Going with the flow.
Always
Yeah, me
creating
too.
my reality, as you know.
Yeah, hoping to hang out with a friend this weekend. Haven't seen her for a while, so trying to get through it.
That sounds good.
Yeah,
Always nice to stay connected with good friends.
oh, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. On Facebook, you guys. So again, before, if you missed the beginning, I was watching that movie Thrive, maybe sometime last year, and it was really good. And there's a whole thing behind it. They're really looking to promote, just kind of like I do here. I like to promote that there are different ways of doing things rather than what the mainstream is always telling us. Um, because sometimes it can be very narrow and limited what whether it's mainstream, public school or, Western
10
medicine.
seconds.
Okay. The media, whatever it is, can sometimes be a little narrow, and I like to expand those
All right,
options.
here we go.
You are listening to Shift Happens with Karin Weary and Ida Serena Lee. Do you have a question or comment about today's program? If so, we'd love to hear from you. Call in to the live show at 1-866-472-5792. That's 1-866-472-5792. Or send an email to karinw@insightscounselingcenter.com. Remember that Karin is spelled Karin. Now, back to Shift Happens.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back. I am Cara Weary with Shift Happens. And also wanted to let you know that this week I have a challenge going, and it's called Crush Anxiety Challenge. You can find that over on Facebook. It's a private group. So if you type in Crush Anxiety Challenge, that'll come up. And just because we got started yesterday doesn't mean that you can't still catch up. No worries. The most important day is really Friday. So if you get signed up before Friday, then you're good. You're golden. So go on there, join us. We're having a great time. It's a great community, and we're getting a lot of great information about how can we crush anxiety, because that really is a huge problem. And another reason why I'm talking about this topic today: create your own reality. And several reasons why it's not just an escape. Some people talk about it, and when I talk about my little bliss bubble and how I don't listen to mainstream media, how well they think that it's just a way to escape. It's just a way to, stick your head in the sand and not know what's going on. But in reality, from a kind of narrow perspective, that could be what it's about. However, let's look a little deeper into what what each way will actually does for you. So let's look at what some of the problems are with, being what some people call a realist. And again, what is a realist? Is a realist, does it have to be that everything is negative, that life is suffering and pain and angst and stress and sadness and all that? And I think it's almost as though those things have been glorified in a way that that's just what life is. Life is a struggle, and that's it, you know. So if I'm struggling, then I have accomplished what I came here to the world to do, to struggle, because that's how I show that I care about people. But I would just like to expose that there might be another way, where you don't have to attach to all of that heavy stuff, all that negativity, and also shine a light on what that does when you decide to stay attached to that way of looking at life. It is a choice. And I choose to look at opportunities to look for solutions, to find alternative ways, to move towards joy, happiness, peace, inner tranquility, and all of those kinds of things. Why? It doesn't mean that that my life is any less real than the realist. My life is very real. I'm here, flesh and blood, as far as I know, and and I get to really enjoy my life. I love my life. I'm happy. I have peace. I have inner peace. That's something that a lot of people are missing in their life, and it's something that the people that I work with they find, and it's literally the words that they use when I work with them doing the process that I do, the 4 C's of empowerment. The words that they literally tell me is that they feel lighter, they feel clarity, they feel happiness. I mean, literally, they feel lighter, like a weight has been lifted off of them. They have this whole new perspective on life that just is coming organically because the way that I work with people is a way where we get to let go and be, I talk about how we're just really all emotionally constipated. So so once we clear out those channels, then you have the ability, your chi is flowing, that life energy, that life force is just flowing instead of getting stuck with these blockages, these emotional blockages that have been created because of reality. That deep, dark reality came and put the dark, heavy cloak over you that you can't get yourself up out of. That's what I do outside of being here on Shift Happens. So so what are some of the things that come with, fans of being realists? If you look at them and take a look at how their profile, if you will, they will be, for the most part, stressed out. They worry. They have lots and lots of worry. They are overthinking. They can't turn their mind off. They have problems sleeping. Why? Because they can't turn their mind off because they're worrying about everything. They've got their brain all wired up and going on about these things. All of these things are little to big T traumas. There is vicarious trauma as well. You don't have to personally experience something in order to have the traumatic effect. I mean, a perfect example is 9/11. You know, the world wasn't actually in New York. New Yorkers were in New York, um, but the whole world experienced the secondhand trauma. And, so this is just one big world event. Well, it happened in New York, but the world felt it. That shows how, trauma is not isolated to the person who's directly experiencing it. And so all of these things, the stress, the worry, the overthinking, the problem sleeping, all of that leads to anxiety and depression. Is that something that we hear a lot about all the time in the world? Yes, anxiety and depression has definitely been on an increase. And I don't have the numbers right now. I have a book that had it, but it's something insane, like the anxiety and depression medication that is being prescribed has at least doubled and tripled, not just in the last year, but over, I don't know, the last decade. And guess what? Anxiety and depression has not gone down. So what does that tell you? That tells you that anti-anxiety, depression, and anti-anxiety and antidepressant medication doesn't really work. And so what does work? These things that I'm talking about. Now, what happens when we're in that state of constant stress and worry and overthinking and anxiety and depression? Guess what? Our immune system goes way down. Our body is not designed to be in constant stress, not constant high level stress, even just a chronic, steady level of stress is it's not good for us. And we have less joy. We become more angry and irritable, and there's much less life satisfaction. And, you know, we have one life to live. Maybe we have more, I don't know, but let's just go with the fact that we have one life to live. How do you want to spend that life? Do you want to enjoy this life, or do you want to just be attached to your misery and live in that way? And, if you think about Viktor Frankl, who wrote, okay, of course, I can't remember the name of the book, but he wrote a book and he was in the concentration camp back in Nazi Germany. And what helped him survive? Talk about somebody who was in a place, in an environment where it would be perfectly natural to be stressed out, anxious, and depressed because he was living in horror, where uh, deprived of food, treated like a slave, tortured, God knows what else. Horrible, horrible circumstances. And yet, what he hung on to was his state of mind. He chose to stay in a positive frame of mind because, as he was saying, they can take everything else from him, but they don't get to control his mind. It's though that is a challenging place to achieve that. If you can achieve that in the Nazi concentration camp, the rest of us should be able to do it outside of there. So, and it is entirely possible. Um, and what happens, this stressful, being worried and overthinking and whatnot, that bleeds into all other areas of our life. It bleeds into how we are with our family. We're just this negative Nelly who's just grumpy and negative, and so with our coworkers, and with our significant other, and it just is, you're the negative Nelly in the group, and and that's okay if that's who you choose to be. But here's where it also will bleed over into your physical life, your physical health or lack thereof, because we know that being in constant high levels of stress, our bodies begin to produce inflammation. And when our bodies start to produce inflammation, that's where the chronic illnesses come from. That's the root cause of chronic illness. And so now you're then really making yourself miserable because now you're not just stressed out mentally, now physically you've got more stuff to worry about. And and that's just not a whole lot of fun if you ask me. Um so so here's the other part is that we can actually, just with our mindset, boost our immune system by up to 50% in 4 days. Dr. Joe Dispenza, I love Dr. Joe Dispenza. He does amazing work. He he has all the equipment to do all the measurements and have all the scientific data to back up what it is that he does. So, he'll have people set up with all the electrodes attached to the brain and whatever else so that they get all the measurements. And so he would have people sit and bring up, a memory or just something that brings up the state or the feeling of being in gratitude or love or appreciation. And then hold that emotion for 10 minutes, 3 times a day. That means 30 minutes a day to spend time in that state of love or gratitude or appreciation. And when people did that for 4 days, 3 times a day for 4 days, they measured that their immune system was boosted by 50%. That's really mind blowing that just with our thoughts and our emotions, that we can do that. We as human beings, really do have superpowers. And that's why I'm here on this show, because I want to emphasize this. I really want people to know how powerful how powerful you are, that just by spending 10 minutes 3 times a day thinking about your dog, thinking about your child, thinking about being at the beach, whatever it is that brings up this state of love and gratitude and appreciation. It could be, just hold a beautiful flower, whatever it is. And that way you can boost your immune system. Isn't that insane? It's crazy. It's mind blowing. And this is why I talk about, being in awe. I This is something that I prescribe, if you will. I I encourage people to really just pretend that you're 2 or 3 years old again, and the whole world is all brand new to you. You know how children, they see the world, are like, "Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Look at this. Look at this rock. Oh my god. Wow." Gotta taste it. We gotta do all that. You don't have to necessarily taste everything. You can skip that part. But really, to get yourself in a state of awe over everything, like feel the breeze, smell the fresh scent of the air, especially when it's cooler and it's nice and crisp. I love the smell of the air, and so crisp and clean. And any little flower in the grass or in the side, you can call it a weed, you can call it whatever, but look at the colors, look at the petals, every little aspect of it. And when you start to get into that little nitty gritty piece, now you're in the present moment. And when I've asked people to do that I work with, when they really do it, they notice all of a sudden, it's like, wow, I'm present. I'm here. I'm actually stepping out of my head that just keeps going and going like crazy. And I actually feel a sense of peace. And how can you tell me that that's not real? That is real. If anything is real in the world, being here in this moment, on God's beautiful earth, you can't tell me that this earth that we live on, when you really start to look at what we have, the beauty in nature that we have, the beauty in, architecture, uh, especially when you have, people, architecture that's kind of different, or old historic architecture, and all those different kinds of things. How is that not real? That is real. And, when you decide to change perspective and notice something else, you are in a whole different place. We create our own reality, and you get to choose what that reality is. Are you going to choose the reality that scares the crap out of you? Or are you going to choose a reality that makes you feel good, that makes you feel alive, that makes you feel present? That's that's your choice, and you really truly have that option. And I think a lot of people don't even realize that they have an option to go there and to have that. It might take some practice, because, we have been programmed to uh, be certain ways, to think certain ways, all the way from the get go. And that can take a little bit of time to undo. So, we are going to come back after these few messages. And that was number one of the 7 reasons why creating your own reality is not just an escape. So, we'll go over the next 6 when we come back from these messages.
All right, we're all clear.
All right. Sweet. Yeah. So, you guys, I am, if I have enough time, I do have a couple of quotes from this book, but if I don't get to it, I do want to share this book here. This is something that I've been talking about several times on the show. I had guests to talk about human trafficking, and this is someone who she's a survivor of human trafficking, Kathy O'Brien, and she's written, this is one of her books, Access Denied, for reasons of national security. This really is a quite an eye opener of what goes on, and it really sheds light on a whole other world that's going on, which we have had confirmed multiple times on the show with different Jen Edwards, who is the CEO of Paving the Way, Andy Berger of Bliss Place. She's going to actually come back on for sure April 20th, but she might also come on in March. So I'm super excited about that. She herself was trafficked by her family. Yeah, that happens. It's insane, isn't it? And then we had Ashley Balarjan.
20 seconds.
And thank you. Yeah, I went for it.
Ashley blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, who's an attorney, and she helps people who are being trafficked,
10
human
seconds.
trafficked. Yeah, blah, blah, blah.
All right. On that note, here we go.
You are listening to Shift Happens with Karin Weary and Ida Serena Lee. Do you have a question or comment about today's program? If so, we'd love to hear from you. Call in to the live show at 1-866-472-5792. That's 1-866-472-5792. Or send an email to karinw@insightscounselingcenter.com. Remember that Karin is spelled Karin. Now, back to Shift Happens.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Shift Happens. I am Karin Weary, your host, and when I'm not on Shift Happens, I make shift happen in your life because I am a licensed marriage and family therapist and life coach, breakthrough life coach, as a matter of fact, and make lots of shift happen from in your life so that you can be who you really came here to be, because too many times we get caught up in things that have happened to us, and we're stuck. And it's not because you're trying to be stuck. It's just how our brains are designed to absorb these things and store these things, and that's how people get stuck. And the great news is that we can get you unstuck in a short amount of time. It's not about years. It's in weeks and in a few short months. We can totally have you on a whole different track that is your choice. Now, and this week I am running a crush anxiety challenge. And so it's not too late to get signed up. You can just go to Facebook and type in Crush Anxiety Challenge, and you will find us, and just hit that button, and we will get you in so that you can get with us to just finish that off. Because I mean, it's a new year, 2021. Let's just crush it. Get done with that already. Otherwise, you can find me on insightscounselingcenter.com. That's my website. On Facebook, on LinkedIn, under my name, Karin Weary, or Insights Counseling Center. And so today we're talking about how to create your own reality, and 7 reasons why it's not just an escape. It really is a lifestyle. It's a choice. It is a way to really design a life that you want, that is a life that you want to live, that feels good, that's happy and joyful. And from that space, you radiate this beautiful energy. So I went over number one, which is that you will actually boost your immune system. And in 4 days, you can boost your immune system by up to 50%. That's insanely significant. Number two is joy. You have joy. And this is where I did talk about how to be in awe, to to just notice everything again as though it's the first time, and really enjoy it. Enjoy the patterns, enjoy the colors. Really, just That's another way of saying being mindful, but I like being in awe because that goes a little further, rather than just being mindful. It's like, "Oh, okay, I'm sitting on this chair and the carpet is brown and the wall is green and whatnot." But it's more, I was like, "Wow, what is this color doing for me? I really like this green color. It's making me feel warm and fuzzy and whatnot." So now we're really tapping into something deeper on an emotional basis that is good for us. So physical health, number 3 is your health because, when we were just talking in the previous segment about how being in constant high levels of stress will cause our body to start producing inflammation. Well, you're not creating inflammation when you're in a good place. All your good hormones and endorphins and neurotransmitters and all that good stuff. You got the good juices flowing because we are able to. That's what emotions are. They are different combinations of neurotransmitters and electrical signals and all kinds of stuff. So we are now in a better place does that actually promotes physical health. Um, Also longevity. Imagine that. Because, well, think about it. If you are from your moods and stress level causing and creating chronic illnesses, and if you're not doing that, obviously, then you're going to have longer life. And for me, it's not about just living long, it's quality of life. I want a quality of life. And so by doing that, there are and I've talked about it here before on the show where I was talking about meditation, what it can do for you and how the telomeres uh, on our genomes, they're like the little kind of like shoelaces, the protection that's at the end of our shoelaces. Those are called telomeres, and we want them to be long and to be nice because when they start to get stressed out from bad environments and this that and the other, they kind of get uh like they've been through a lot. They get shorter. That means that our lifespan is shorter and we are more apt to have health problems. So that's number 4, longevity. Number 5 is we can reverse anxiety and depression because when you're in that state of awe, you're in you have inner peace and all that, then you can't have anxiety and depression and be in awe at the same time. It's just impossible. So that's another thing. Number 6 is we actually increase our ability to connect with and boost the collective consciousness. So, what is the collective consciousness? So, if you think about how, let's use the 9/11 example again, that is something that reverberated throughout all of planet Earth. The whole world felt that. Yeah, and there was actually the Earth emits a frequency, and they measure it, and that day, there was a very extreme visible change in the frequency. So we and that was based on how everybody just felt this. So we have an effect on Earth. Earth has an effect of us. We are not completely separate beings. We all exist in an organic soup of oneness, so to speak. And when I am in a better place, I am radiating this good energy out, and so on and so forth. So the more of us that are in this space, the more we're kind of lifting the whole collective consciousness and contributing in a positive way. Um, there have been studies that showed how when people get together and meditate, how violence goes down, crime goes down, finances get better, all this different kind of stuff. That is an example of how we contribute to the collective consciousness. And so when we become more intentional about it, then we can do that. So, and 7, we can tune into our own inner wisdom and our use that as our inner compass and in guiding us in what to do and how to handle things in life. Um, So now our collectiveness has been, affected by social marketing and engineering. I mean, and this is how. Just think about how commercials are made. Commercials are made for a reason, and they have done a lot of studying to figure out. Okay, when we say certain things and we use certain music and this, that, and the other, then people are going to buy more of this. So even if we know, for example, everybody knows that Coca-Cola is not good for us. It has high levels of sugar. Uh, don't go for the diet stuff either because that's fake sugar. That's even worse for you. So the whole low calorie thing, that's the whole uh, just drop it all. Don't look for low calorie stuff. It's not good for you. We need real food, not low calorie stuff where they manipulated our food to be whatever it is that a couple of research things said was good, which has all been refuted since then. So they know what to do, how to say things, how to word things, what kinds of music to put on. I mean, think about how much music affects us and how they use it in movies, for example. If you didn't have music at a movie, you you wouldn't have the strong levels of emotional impact that you do. They use it for a reason. It's all engineered to have specific results. And one of the things that they do, like in mass media, for example, is they use neurolinguistic programming. And it's a way of talking double talk, so to speak. So I'm saying these words, but at the same time while saying these words, I'm talking to the subconscious. And so it's extremely powerful. It's used in marketing all the time, and this is one of the ways that they can, really pull people in one way or another. And that's the thing is that, how if you're watching something and suddenly you have this urge, this craving for something particular, and, and then you think back like, well, what did I just watch? There may have been a commercial about, burgers and fries or whatever. Now all of a sudden you crave fries. And all of that from, this the way that they are able to say things. It's incredible. And here's the thing is that, you know, by using divisive language and NLP, they're able to get different groups of people to start not liking each other and this is oftentimes just really a distraction. If we get people to argue about this over here, they won't notice this over here that's going on. And so we um, can easily be led one way or another. When we are plugged into, you know, certain kinds of information and media and whatnot. And that's again where I encourage people to have discernment, to unplug for a while, let the dust fall, and start to notice what do you think? Not just the information that's come in from the outside. And then that's not just from mainstream media. It could be social media, it could be friends, it could be coworkers, it could be a lot of different things. But I encourage you to allow some things to kind of settle in and really have your own discernment. Notice what it feels like. Does this feel right? Does this seem right? Does this go along? Is this logical? You know, um, because sometimes it just might not be logical. So let me just go ahead because I did have a quote in here that I wanted to share. That let me see here. That it was right here somewhere. Oh, yeah. So, let's see. So here's the thing is that when we consider the strength of the innate human spirit, the far-reaching impact of wisdom and resultant solution, and there she's using the word solutions, Kathy O'Brien from this book, Access Denied. Um, While artificial intelligence was providing them with information on actions and reactions, it was not providing wisdom. Truth's wisdom is humanity's key to freedom. And here's the thing: is that uh, the people in government, whatnot, they knew that information control gave them power over people, and that's again where the discernment comes in. So I just would love for you to, as always, be your own researcher, pay attention, try things out, take them down, try them on for a little bit, kind of like you go to the clothing store and you want to try them, your clothes, and see how it fits, and see what it does for you to unplug from all of the outside noise and find some inner peace there. Because that way you can get to who you really are so that you can shine your beautiful inner light. And when you do that, you are sharing your unique talents with the rest of the world, which we so much need. And therefore, I am going to encourage you to do so. And then circle back in with us next time when we are here on Shift Happens.
Awesome show. All clear.